Well, I thought I'd try something a little different. Welcome to Stories Parkinson Story, episode 10. It's May the 26th, 2023. It's been almost a month since I posted episode 9. It's been a very busy month. Of course, all months seem to be busy. May in particular was busy because we were going back and forth to MD Anderson every week for my wife's treatment. So it was Monday down, treatment Tuesday, Wednesday back and forth, which kind of left us Thursday and Friday and to catch up Saturday to Mass, Sunday pack, and away we were again. So I feel like I didn't get much done. We were doing a lot of things to help our dear friend Tony's wife when she relocated, and she's facing technology challenges with all of her products, Apple phone, watch, subscriptions and whatever that she didn't know about, didn't know how to change the credit card number, and nobody seems to know how to do all that sort of thing. It's really difficult to change things that have been set up in one person's name that you want to continue and change to your name. So at any rate, there's that. I was just trying to look at the calendar and see what all happened during the month. It's funny, you look at that and you say, well, you know what we did, MD and back. Appointment with Dr. Franklin on my nose. He had done a cauterization of an area in my nose, that some dilated blood vessels that I kept having recurring blood nosebleeds. They seem to be getting more frequent. Found an area in there, cauterized it, really kind of took care of the problem, and I went back to see him again. Everything was all healed except for one little spot. He just recauterized that a bit. It's been quite a while now. I haven't had any problem. I'm certainly glad I finally got an ENT here in Georgetown that I can get to fairly easily. Let's see, just looking at other things. The limited time I had home, I was able to go to 413 Fitness only on Fridays. Which normally is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. I went today, by the way. Today is Friday. I can certainly tell when I'm not able to get my 5 days of scheduled exercise in. It's amazing how quickly I seem to regress. And it makes a difference in terms of how I feel and quality of my sleep. I'm sure the travel back and forth to MD Anderson wears me out. You wouldn't think a 3-hour drive, but a 3-hour drive in heavy traffic, most of it, especially the part in Houston. That drive in Houston is just nightmarish. US 290 going into Houston, they made 4 or 5 lanes of traffic out of what should be about 3. So the lanes are just as narrow as they can possibly be. You drive along, you could roll your window down, reach out and touch the truck next to you. Fortunately, I got Super Cruise in the Escalade, and so it keeps it right in the lane, but can really be stressful. So anyway, we did all that stuff. I'm trying to see anything else. Meeting with our lawyer about making some changes to our Story Living Trust. An electronics recycling event. I gathered a bunch of old telephones and stuff, recycle those things. So there's always something going on. It's just it's never ending. I also volunteered starting last month with the Georgetown Area Parkinson Support Group to do the Zoom meeting master for them. So I do the recording of the Zoom meeting and take the downloaded file after the meeting and process that into YouTube and through iMovie, save the file and post it to YouTube. and submit it so they can put it on the website. I have the ability, and they need the help. So Mary Jane Berry, the lady who runs the Georgetown Area Parkinson Support Group, it's like the Energizer Bunny, but Energizer Bunny needs help. So I'm doing that for them. We had a Parkinson Support Group meeting yesterday. The meeting last month, we had the Michael J. Fox Foundation. 2 representatives from the foundation were here talking about how they do their research funding, what they've done with, and they really have targeted funding, and if your funding's not producing results, they move the money to somebody else who's got a more promising project. And then we also got a preview of Michael J. Fox's movie Still on Apple TV Plus, which we watched. It's kind of an amazing, it's the story of his whole life from the time he was born, grew up in Canada, first got on TV, became a star, and then his development of Parkinson's at age 29. He's young onset Parkinson's person. Really unfortunate. He's been dealing with Parkinson's for 30 years. His dysphoria and dyskinesia are really bad. He, I think, doesn't want to do anything like deep brain stimulation because he doesn't want to minimize the impact of Parkinson's as he goes about helping raise funds for finding a cure, finding treatments. They've had a breakthrough recently in a biomarker that they can use to tell if someone potentially will come down with Parkinson's. Also help them identify candidates for research and study, so it's been a big deal. So the first major breakthrough in Parkinson's treatment and research in a long time. See, I was trying to think what else we did. Today I went to 413 Fitness. This is just the Friday before Memorial Day weekend. So we won't have any 413 Fitness Monday. And we're finally finished. This week we finished Mark Lawrence treatment so we're done for 6 months. We'll go back till November. So that's good. And then next couple of weeks are going to be busy. We're going to be going to family reunion June 2nd or 3rd, first Saturday in June in Shreveport. The first time we've been able to get together with a bunch of members of the family we haven't seen in a long time. And then for a lot of them, it'll be the first time they've seen me since my diagnosis with Parkinson's. I think everybody kind of wonders how I'm doing. They'll have a chance to see. I'm really doing pretty well. Other than the noticeable things like voice and slow movement, inability to do some things that I used to do very easily. They probably won't really notice that it's very bad, and it's really not very bad. I'm unfortunate I was quite older when I was diagnosed. There are folks who've been dealing with it a long time. I don't really notice any major changes for me. I've had a couple of instances where my feet and legs have bothered me at night when I lay down, and that's, as I talked to my primary care physician about that, he explained that when you don't have any weight on your feet, the nerves have an opportunity to kind of be less restrained, I guess. And what I get is it's hard to explain. It's not itching. It's just a strange sensation in my feet. Makes me want to have to rub them or move them or something. And then recently I've had a couple times where they want to twitch a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's the peripheral neuropathy or Parkinson, like dyskinesia kind of thing. But I don't think it's dyskinesia because as I talked to my Parkinson's movement disorder specialist and neurologist about that. Normally that happens when you have too much dopamine. You've had your dose of medicine's been too recent or something, and you've gotten more dopamine in your system than you need. That's certainly not the case. In the middle of the night, I'm in an extended period without, because I take it at 8, 1, and 6. So I go from 6 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock in the morning. So that's a long period of time without any medication. Matter of fact, it's interesting. I find that when I wake up early in the morning, I want to go for a walk, which I typically do before the sun comes up, or just as the sun's coming up, to minimize my exposure because of my skin cancer risk. I find I walk just fine, as good as can be expected, really. My mile times have gotten longer. I mean, I'm in the 25-minute a mile time frame for a walk, which I used to be able to do in basically 19 or 20 minutes a mile. So that's a measure of how much slower I am. But my walking steadiness is good, so I don't have any problems with that. I'm not walking with a cane or anything like that. That's all going well. So I guess I just wanted to say that we're staying really busy. I'm glad that our back and forth weekly trips to MD Anderson are at an end for 6 months. That means I can get back to more of a 5 days a week schedule for my physical fitness, which really is beneficial to me. And I really, it's funny, I've gotten to the point where I really miss it, especially going to 413 Fitness, because there's a group of people there that are pretty consistent, and it's good to see them, see how they're doing, have a chance to talk to them, shared experience kind of thing, and you learn how we're all different. Nobody's the same, other than the fact that we have Parkinson's, but our Parkinson's journeys are all very individualized, which is what the doctors have said. There is no such thing as typical Parkinson's. You see one Parkinson's patient, you've seen one Parkinson's patient. Some symptoms may be similar, and they may vary by degree. They may vary by, for instance, I don't have any tremors. Most people associate Parkinson's with people that have tremors. I don't have any tremors. That doesn't mean I won't develop them, but I don't. That's usually the first symptom most people find. And in my experience with the folks that I'm exercising with, that's the first thing that they had encountered, was some sort of a tremor. So mine was really a collection of things and things I didn't recognize, not slurred, but quieter speech. I didn't notice that. I sound the same to myself, but other people have said, my voice got quieter. And it is. That's one of the things that Parkinson's a movement disorder. Every movement of every kind, movement of your mouth, your vocal cords, everything, digestive system, your walking, talking, moving your head, your ability to exercise, move, and whatever. I'm not trying to say not my strength, but my flexibility is less. I don't know that that's a fact of not having pushed it in years. I've not ever been a real big exercise person. I'm doing more exercise now than I have most of my life. Other than walking, I was walking and running is about the two principal things I've done, but things that cause me to stretch and get flexibility. I notice my shoulders are not as flexible as they used to be. We do our warm-up exercises at 413. I can't do some of the things as well as they'd like. Of course, I'm dealing with people who are athletes and have great flexibility and are much younger than I am too, but that's okay. I guess the most visible signs that I didn't associate with anything, should have associated with something, I guess should have raised some concern, was maybe the first thing was my handwriting went to hell. I used to have fairly decent penmanship. I got to the point where I could not write a hand-scribed letter or note thank you note. I encountered that with trying to write thank you notes to Sam and Mary Yeager when we'd go down and stay with them. And just a quick note, and I got nice note cards, and I'd try and write a note. At the point it turned into chicken scratch. I'd start out okay, but then the print would get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller to the point it just looked like a squiggly line, unintelligible. I attributed that to arthritis or something in my hands, when in fact it's a symptom of Parkinson's. The other thing I noticed, but I didn't associate with anything, was when I was walking, which was pretty regularly, my right arm didn't swing. You know how you walk along, your arm swing? Well, my right arm didn't swing, it just hung there. Unless I physically made it swing, it wouldn't swing. So those were early signs of Parkinson's that I should have recognized, or should have asked a question, I guess, to my primary care physician about. I did eventually ask him some questions, and he had me walk up and down the hall and turn around, and when I did that, he said, how soon are you seeing your neurologist? And it so happened it was the next week. He said, mentioned to him, he needs to take a look. I think you have some Parkinsonian movements. Sure enough, that's what led to the MRI, and then following that, the dopamine transporter scan, which confirmed the diagnosis of Parkinson's. And then I got from him, that's the neurologist I was seeing because of my peripheral neuropathy. And then from him, I got test results provided to Dr. Swallow, who's a Texas movement disorder specialist. He's a neurologist and psychologist, specializes in movement disorders, primarily Parkinson's, right here in Georgetown. He's excellent. So we're fortunate to get into him. He's kind of loaded up 3,500 patients. He and 2 physician's assistants. So at any rate, I guess that's, I'm looking at the clock here. I'm almost coming up on 18 minutes of rambling, but that's probably not all bad. So we'll wrap up Stories, Parkinson's Story, episode 10 until next time, and hopefully next time will be a little sooner. Take care, everyone.